Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo buddhaya, namo dhammaya, namo sankhaya. Good morning to all of you on the west side of the world, afternoon and into the evening to everyone here on the east side of the world, currently in Vietnam, in Nha Trang City. And I just wanted to, that has been uh, not addressed over the past year, actually, of live stream. So I had some time now and actually recovering, had a stomach bug and recovering. I think you all can see a little bit of mark up here, right? And I had to fix my ropes so that I can cover all this up because there's a lot of cupping that was done. There's bruises everywhere on the front shoulder. So still recovering in one of the best way, knowing that I'm accumulating good karma and serving the people. So his question was, how do I deal with that I'm losing my best friend? And indeed, there is a lot of memories together. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, is that when we have someone that close to us with the length of history and length of memories in history together. And I promised Dan I was going to give him a video on it, and it's been 3 weeks. So once again, I apologize, Dan, as now I'm just settling in Vietnam. Now, the one good thing about your situation is that you have an alarm clock for the inevitable. Okay. And if the death is sudden, then it's a shock to everybody. Really big shock. In Buddhism and in psychology, and from my experience, is that whether we have time to prepare for it or don't have time to prepare for it, this pain in one's heart. And it, what I described as, it sucks, like really bad. What to watch out for is how we cope with the death of a loved one, friends, family. And it doesn't go into the order that that is being described. You know, everyone goes through these. I call it DABDA, DABDA. So it includes depression, anger, bargaining, acceptance. Buddhism, we are reminded of impermanence. Not everyone lasts forever. People are subject to birth, disease, decay, sickness, old age, and subsequent death. So, meditating on death of cause and effect would be wise. If the friend passes away, bringing up the merits and doing good deeds to dedicate that merits to our loved one, our loved departed ones. Sharing of the merits is important because we want them to accumulate a lot of good merits, as we don't know what rebirth realm they're going to take into. There's 6 rebirth realms in Buddhism. And it's dependent on one's karma, one's previous karma, and which is the previous life. And then one's this life karma that they have accumulated, buying through the working of the body, speech, and mind, how much they thought nice of other people, courtesy, no ill will, body, speech, if they said good things, if they lived a good moral and ethical life, practicing right speech, and dedicating their effort, energy as a human to help other people, and giving more and taking less, honoring your friend and or loved ones. I wanted to just give a comprehensive overview, just comprehensive, because when we talk about death, it's it varies per individual. And though my conversation with Dan was brief due to time constraints, I can only. Oh wait, let me add something in there too. So of course, impending deaths of loved ones. I also invite you to also return back to your practice, or if Buddhism is new to you, then dive deep into the four protective medley and to face a lot of things head on and to prepare for more deaths to come. Just because isn't that life, right? We, especially if you have a big social circle, social capital, is that just wait for it. Accidents and mishaps and disease and old age and accidental deaths is a possibility. It's not there to scare people. It's just to prepare you, because there's uncertainties in life. And aging parents, that impact is to come. So Buddhism prepares us for that as much as possible per individual, how we perceive death and how we will deal with it as it comes, either sudden or gradual, slow anticipation. Um, okay, and so the other question I had was a really good one, actually. Let me see if I can pull it up. Well, let me see if I can remember the question. Oh, this is the fun part of being me and the many questions that do come. Hold on here. Oh, as I'm trying to find this other question, let me answer. Loy guitars. What can I do after a big mistake? Well, you realize it was a mistake, so that's a good thing. Accepting it would be one of the hardest thing to do. Louise, is that how you say it? Louise. Louise. It's kind of short for actual spelling of Louise. If you wanted to go live and share with me what you feel comfortable sharing, I can best counsel you. That's a very broad statement there. Okay, so I don't think that question is. Let me check my Facebook. And attachment or something. I gotta find it. It was a really good. So it's gotta be an Instagram, or maybe it's in general right here. Come on, let me find it. Let me find it. Let me find it. Good morning. because it wasn't through email. Hmm. Megan, Megan wrote, as I'm still trying to find this. How do you find what your gifts are to the world? I'm lost as to my purpose in life. Thank you. Hold on. My coffee weather. Did you sent that to my phone, right? My other phone? Yeah, it probably. Hold on. Okay. Multiple questions coming in. One number. I got it. Okay. All right. I have the question up. Okay. Let me go back to the one that I just read here. How do I find my gift? Well, general philosophy says, um, hmm, how do I find? How do you find your gifts are to the world? I'm lost as to my purpose in life. You start with thinking about writing down your strengths and weaknesses, what you like and what you don't like, first and foremost. You analyze your personality, taking those personality tests and stuff to find out what you like. I mean, some people are introvert. So it what's this type of psychology, character, personality? Um, so Megan, I would invite you to visit psychologytoday.com. There's a plenty of resources on that. My thing is, John, I'm not sure how old. Your age has a lot to do with it too. I mean, all I have is a username. I don't have. So if you wanted to go live, I can help you narrow it down more accurately. Okay. So I can don't lose these threads. Okay. If we chase someone who, oh, and I forgot to do the TikTok thing, right? Because TikTok people get a kick out of this too. Let me hit this live for a second. Q and A. Okay. All right. Who turned us down? If we chase someone who turned, well, why would you chase after them? Why would you chase after them? It doesn't go against Buddhist principle. The only time it goes against Buddhist principle in regards to the second noble truth, if you went to really extreme, like. So there's this article. I scroll Instagram, and I guess this woman had done texted this man 156,000 texts in 1 year after the first date. Now, if you do that, that's pretty extreme. We would consider that as extremism and not the middle way in Buddhism. So just reflect on that for a second. Okay. Because love is deep. Good morning. After death, we lose all memory and even our personality. So even if something is reincarnated, it's not us. It's as to we just inherited from the karma of someone else. No, we're not gonna inherit karma of someone else. The streams of consciousness continues after death, dissolution of the body. So you're gonna take what's good and what's bad that you've done with you, and so that's what's written in the book. If we sit here, we postulate on this a little too long, a little too hard. It would be wasting time, just because I don't know for sure you don't know unless for sure unless you die. So what do I do when I see things written in the book and I'm like, oh, how do I test that? I'm not dead yet, so I don't know how to test it. What's important to do the three things that they tell you to do in Buddhism. Don't do bad. So, people actually believe that, oh well, rebirth doesn't apply to me, or they side with the lawyer in their head and they end up not keeping the precepts or living an immoral, unethical life. Well, wait for it to come, and when it comes, can't save you. Even if I was a living Buddha, I still couldn't save you or anybody else. All right, let me see if I can now move to the question on my phone here. It's just a really good one that I was telling everyone about. All right, here we go. Mm. I guess there was two questions on there. There's multiple questions on here too that I probably failed to answer. Um, Cravings and pleasure are two things, correct? Craving is wanting the pleasure, just sense pleasure, or if life and death cycle, or to not experience life death cycle. And then the other question was, see if I can get this organized here. Resume. Oh, come on, TikTok. But when you are having food, drinking water, or having sex, how is it possible to do it equanimously? Your tongue is tasting the food and your throat's feeling the cool water and you're feeling aroused by your partner. If we say we are not feeling good, we are lying. The Buddha teaches, so say as it is. So, how does one remain equanimous to the sensation of pleasure when it is happening? And I wrote back, thank you for writing. The short answer is that you can remain tranquil. These things are. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Super sorry. Sorry. A lot of questions on YouTube I see there. Let me address this. Okay. So I said, you can exercise the power of observation as you observe it is without judgment. And then the student says, your response, remain tranquil, is to observe the arousal, observe the feeling of quench, observe the feeling of sensation without labeling it as good feeling or bad feeling. This observation detaches you from I, the ego. Without the identity, there is no craving. The ego is the one who craves. Where's this coming from? Okay, all right. So I can tell that you are a very analytical student. Not sure how old you are, but gotta be comfortable. Rather than in the moment of enjoying something and we're analyzing it like this. Um, I've never had a question like this, nor in my own life when I am experiencing, and I catch it when like in the summertime I'm playing sports and I realize it's hot and I'm like, wow. And I catch myself like complaining, and I catch. So equanimous. How is it possible to do it equanimously? You what I would do. Because everyone experiences things differently, right? So let's go with food first. Let's take it one at a time. The other way around. Not, survive to eat or live to eat. We eat to live. So anytime when people offer, and they do, sometimes they offer, really tasty food. That's interesting. I've never seen this before, or a piece of steak, and I'm like, oh, and that tastes good, great. And I see the three marks of existence in it quickly, so that I don't attach onto the piece of steak or apple or whatever the case may be. But the three marks of existence is it's impermanent, it's subject to change, and rarely is it under my control. Drinking the same, the experience of drinking, let's say wine. Here you wrote water, but wine, anything that tastes good. Again, three marks of existence. And then sex, which is the highest form of pleasure a human can experience. And you're feeling aroused by your partner. And if we say we're not feeling good, we're lying. But it does feel good in the moments that you are doing it. And it's okay to note it, right? In Vipassana meditation, observation is to note it. Good, good good for what it is. Good. I mean, I think where we get ourselves in trouble is when we put the word I in it rather than just know. Let me. Does anyone else confused as to my answer to this? Anyone else confused as to my answer to this student? This is a tough one, actually. I've never had to pause for so many times. Sex, equanimous, and if you're feeling good, and if we're not saying we're feeling good, we'd be lying. Text me a minute because I'm rewinding my head when I had sex before becoming a monk. Because our philosophers have said the only time that you're actually mindful is when you're in love. Um, it felt good. If we make this and try not to use the word I in there and make it personal, then I think that you would be okay. The moment where we said, oh, just think about the complaints when it comes to sex. For right, let me make some of these. When we did it, it felt really good, but this time it didn't feel as great. I couldn't get off, for example, or you took longer than expected to get off. Man, this is probably not rated PG-13 for most ears out there. But wouldn't continue my statements to say, I really like this steak. I would prefer to have a steak like this down the road. Again, the I. All right. So I hope that does it justice. I don't want to spend too much time on this, just because it might just get more weirder to the young, innocent ears out there. So let me. So to this student, also known as my coffee weather, you let me know, or you can go live with me, so I can make some follow-ups on that. Just all right. So Siri asks, "Can girls become monk? I like to become a monk, and I am a woman." So, John, what's his name from Australia, ordains women to be bhikkhunis. So we don't call them monks, we call them bhikkhunis because we're bhikkhus and y'all are bhikkhunis. He has revived the bhikkhuni order. So that means you guys can wear the same robes that we have. Ajahn Brahm of Australia. So I invite you to visit his website, look him up, and see what's going on. Buffering, yeah. A lot of buffering issues here. What is the easiest way to get enlightened? Huh. It depends for individuals. It may be easier for you, it may be harder for me, the Buddha would say. And the easiest way I would say is practice mindfulness meditation, practice vipassana, insight meditation. In my country, they say that is an effect of war, literally jamming internet. Maybe it's something worldwide. I don't know what that is. Lagging. What Buddhism say about law of attraction? Wishing others well, happy, then success will follow. Everything is preceded by the mind. That's the first verse in the Dhammapada. Okay. Can you explain the 31 planes of existence in Buddhism? Not in this talk, but you can look up John Sona. John Sona. He does a really good job about the Asura realms and all of that. I don't get into all of that because that just takes forever and ever. I'm a clinical Buddhist monk, so I deal with suffering in the present moment, in the now. And questions such as the 31 planes is left for students who have already graduated. Okay. Because to remember the words of the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, what they mean for us, to help us in the future, because you have to memorize the words. And as you recite the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings, you apply it right there and then. You apply it right after chanting. Sets the tone for the day if you do more morning chants, and also sets the tone for at night, because we humans simply, we are people doing great over here. I can see. Uh-oh. A lot of connection issues. Hmm. But it's okay to label it as good and bad. To observe without judgment. Mm. A good one. That's a really good one. Too. The mind's a terrible thing because sometimes it can get really, really super duper analytical and psychological into some of the teachings, and oof, it's tough to wrestle with rather than seeing things more simple, simply, simply put. Who do you worship? In Buddhism, we would say that we respect the Buddha and we show our respect by depends on what the definition of worshiping is. Typically, the word worship is people tend to attach onto the to a god figure, like, and they rely on him for everything and they ask him for everything. It could be him or she, it could be a different religion, different tradition, different philosophies. But when we use the word worship, it means that we just pray all day to this figure and waiting for answers and waiting for them to answer the prayers. In Buddhism, we don't worship. In Buddhism, we pay our reverence, our respect to the one and only historical Gautama. So we're pretty straight to the point in Buddhism. When we have doubt, fire, and inspired to be just like the Buddha. Everything has its clinical benefits in Buddhism, and we caution ourselves not to worship. Now, there's other places in the world that, in fact, does worship the Buddha, and they waste a lot of time doing so, and don't get straight to the point to solve problems by utilizing. Is it that if people worship someone, for example, a god, they external their development and can become lazy in spiritual pursuit? Yes, yeah, energy. Looking at the blueprint of our life and the blue pleasant thing to do. So therefore it's easier to just pray. Just like, for example, dear God, make this go away. Um, so yeah, Siri, Nick, you may. Next, next question under that. Is there any way to deal with discriminative comments on the internet? Just ignore it. Why? Because the rotten fruit will fall on its own. And of course, there's the report button, and blah. We have a question over here, which is Buddha alive currently so he can help us when we pray to him? I don't have any evidence to suggest that he is alive and running around. I don't have any evidence to suggest that when we pray to him, he's going to answer our prayers. And my dad makes this into a very jokingly way. He says, "You want to pray to Buddha? You want to pray to God? You need to get in line because that's a lot of prayers." Okay, got another question here on YouTube. In the Mangala Sutta, associate with the wise. What does it mean by a foolish person? That's a good one. Ying Jing Yi, Chia Jing Yi, username. This is actually my favorite. This is, if you've ever listened to most of my talks, I've always said, you know, the wise don't chill with fools. What constitutes a fool? Well, they say foolish things. They do foolish things. Things are not conducive to our spiritual practice. They go against the Four Noble Truth. They go against the Noble Eightfold Path. So when you look at the Noble Eightfold Path and a person does not follow it or most of it, or if you find yourself arguing with this person a lot, they don't make a lot of sense. They don't walk the talk. Their words are incongruent with their actions. You're probably dealing with a foolish person, a fool. One who boasts about himself and a lot of me, my, and I statements, not humble, does not give more and take less, does not lead by example for the benefit of others. You're probably dealing with someone who is a fool. So again, if you look at the Noble Eightfold Path and into elements of right speech, to elements of right effort, right view, right livelihood, right mindfulness, then at hand. Obviously, if you're paying attention closely to statements like this, I would imagine that you are a smart student that knows how to discern. And when you up questions for this person to rule out finally that whether this conversation is going to go somewhere or is not, and whether or not this foolish person is going to remain foolish for the remaining balance of the time that you have with them, the remaining balance time in a month, a week, or a year, or they're just dealing with some things right now. And right now, we just don't have the time to entertain such foolishness. Good question. Tunami. I've been trying to learn about Buddhist beliefs, but I realized I should learn about Buddhist practice as well. Could you tell me about this or where to start? So you can, let me write that. Let me type it. You can read this book called What Buddhists Believe by Sri. Oh, what Buddhist? BuddhaEDU.org. I think you can get that book free on. Okay, all right. So Tsunami, I gave you some resources. I just want to make sure the first link. BUDAEDU.org, where you get a library of books for free. Download PDF. Corporate body of Buddha Educational Foundation. Good. Then you hit English on the far right, you would be golden. I'm also going to publish this on my Facebook, so anyone who has trouble accessing the English version of this website, it will be on my Facebook Red account where I'm wearing red robes. You can have some pride. It's not a sin. We don't call it a sin. We don't call anything a sin. We call it either wholesome or unwholesome, kusala or akusala. Just don't let that pride get to the extreme point where it makes you not beautiful anymore. Um, we all understand the dangers of pride and where it could lead a person, and how other people would see that as annoying, to say the least, and get very far away from you, how it can destroy relationships as a direct result of pride. So just question. Since present moment happens so fast in milliseconds, that means the present is merely an illusion, not real at all. So how can we meditate properly on this? When you practice mindfulness of the breath, you slow down those milliseconds, don't you? And when we practice breathing in, I know I'm breathing in, breathing out, I know I'm breathing out, rising and falling of the abdomen, rising, falling, right? It's like a balloon. Our tummy is like a balloon. It moves quick. So you have to practice mindfulness and samadhi and vipassana so that you know how to slow it down and realize what's unfolding right now in this present moment. Lack of mindfulness meditation leads others to make foolish choices, such as impulsive buying. Ever walk into a mall and you walk into like Victoria's Secret or like other stores that have music and fragrance and smell, or the mall's floor is shiny, and then you realize, well, this is a lot to take in, and next thing you know, someone's like, they wave that thing and they're like, oh, look, cologne smell really good, and you're like, oh yeah, it is really good, yeah, we'll buy it, because they realize moment to moment. They just trust me. Psychology has got it down to a science to manipulate consumers to make such rapid impulse choice. But it is things down. This is, questions being asked and things are happening in front of you, when you just kind of like analyze and just watch and wait and select proper words, right time, right moment, you know, and then respond skillfully. It's a good question. Good question. God, you guys are wonderful. You guys ask really good questions. Um, mhm. Are there any taboos in Buddhism? Not that I can think of right now on top of my head. Let me let me define taboo for a second. Something that is avoided or forbidden for religious or social reasons. Dealing with the no, we're pretty uniform. We're pretty uniform about everything that we do. There's good, there's bad in every religion. There's good and bad monks. There's good and bad. There's corruption, both anywhere in the world. Um, I make all of those. Oh, let me go to Instagram here and see if I have missed any questions in Instagram. No questions on Instagram. Let me check Facebook here. Did Buddha know he had reached enlightenment? Yes, he sure did. What is the source of anxiety and how does Buddhism deal with it? Well, we humans were born with the capacity to experience anxiety. We had to ensure our survival. It's a component of. I mean, do I make sense when I say that? Anxiety is built in a human in order to ensure our survival. In previous talks, and this is why we're afraid of the things that we are afraid of, such as afraid of the dark, afraid of snakes, afraid of needles, afraid of all these things. If I let you loose at night, you would like worry, right? Which is anxiety. Anxiety is apprehension of the future. You would worry that you turn the corner, a leopard or a lion might jump out around that corner in darkness and try to eat you. Um, so, yeah, good amount of anxiety ensures your survival. Buddhism is concerned when that anxiety gets out of hand and it starts to affect, work, home, sleep, balance. What I also work, home, school, balance. And so you need to see a therapist or try out cognitive behavioral therapy. I can send you the book for free on email. So just send me your email. You can write to me at the number one Vietnamese interpreter at Gmail, the number one Vietnamese interpreter at gmail.com, and I'll send you the cognitive behavioral therapy. If you are new to anxiety and the treatment, one of the most potent treatment for anxiety, which is CBT, you can visit psychologytoday.com or Med Circle on YouTube, and they talk a lot about the applications and the clinical benefits of CBT for treating anxiety. There is a lot of corrupt monk who engage in spreading misinfo in my homeland. Is awful seeing stuff like this. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Hopefully they're not Theravadan. I'm a Theravadan monk, and we keep it real. And uh, and this is why one should investigate the Dhamma with good reputable sources that I have mentioned, aforementioned above, so that no one can fool you. You have the right to ask questions directly too. Something doesn't make sense if a monk expounds something and you're like, what? And be like, excuse me, can you please cite where you got that from in the Nikayas? In the 5 original books? Can you tell me exactly where you got that from? I'm a little confused. Back to the anxiety thing. Meditation. So Buddhist standpoint on anxiety. So someone had done asked the Buddha this, like, excuse me, sir, what have you gained as a direct result of practicing meditation? And the Buddha replied, I ain't gained anything. What I did lose was depression, anxiety, lamentation, grief, and so on. So when you practice mindfulness meditation, slowly you see the true nature of reality of things and you don't jump to conclusions down the road about what if. Anxiety is has a lot to do with that. What if tomorrow the whole world turns to dust? What if tomorrow all the nations go to war? What if tomorrow I have nothing to eat? What if tomorrow I cannot pay my bills? What if? So mindfulness meditation really helps to really slow your mind down. The smarter you are, the faster you think. The faster you think, the more anxious you become. The more anxious you become, not a good thing. Really affects your sleep. Um, what constitutes good sleep? Peace. What brings peace? Mindfulness meditation. We have any more questions? Our Instagram is clear. We got another one. What is the Buddhist view of gods? To be clear, I'm not talking about the Buddha. In some some Buddhist countries, some also pray to go gods in Buddhism. We don't believe in a god. We don't believe in like the one and only creator type deal, right? There in the rebirth realms, there is called the demigods realm, where of which in their previous lives they have accumulated good karma and merits, and so they get to rejoice in the demigods realm, where they enjoy like sensual pleasures and all these worldly pleasures. But their time also comes up and they take rebirth again. So every time when they hear the teachings of the Buddha, it's reminded them that things are subject to impermanence, and they're like, "Oh man, we have an expiration date too. We don't want to hear that." So off they go. They go to take another rebirth. Uh, but yes, some other Buddhist countries they do practice the wrong way, and they bring a bunch of gods in, and I don't know what's going on over there. That's why I'm a Theravadan Buddhist monk. We are straight to the point. One and only historical Gautama Buddha. Okay, we have a question here in IG. Hi, sir. I just lost my mother last month, and I'm not in terms with my sister. Any advice, please, on how to cope with grief and family problems? So, first and foremost, my condolences to you, your family, through these very tough, trying times. Um, and what I hid from all of you at the beginning of this talk is I am also going through family problems. I am in Vietnam. I am supposed to be enjoying myself here. Very much needed vacation. But however, on advice on how to cope with grief. So, like I mentioned earlier with the one talk with Dan, is to be aware of the stages of grief, right? So, the 5 stages of grief by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, DABDA, DABA, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. You go in different order. It's different for everybody. So when you realize where you're at in that stage, it becomes a little easier knowing what to expect, because it can be very bipolar. Like for me, after my grandmother passed away, it cycled in very vicious forms, and I was just like, wow, roller coaster. When it comes to family problem, these are some of the most trying times because I think everyone is grieving, including your sister. And if you guys are not on good terms, it's best to stay away from each other and not in each other's faces, because you can spark arguments, say unwholesome things, be in anger, have resent, just angry thoughts, and that's not a good thing. You might say something unwholesome, think something unwholesome, thus generating bad karma, which is not a good thing for everybody involved, including the departed. And what you want is to honor your mother, and if she was still alive, what would she want you to do? How would she want you to live your life? And that is going to be the most important thing, is how does she want you to live your life? So, really try to reel yourself back in. Don't get too carried away in its way. But my deepest sympathy for you. It's never easy losing a mom, because they spend the most time with us and they took care of us the longest, even though my mom's driving me crazy right about now. um, we have some questions over here on YouTube. Is there any Buddhist technique that help you find yourself? I've been struggling, okay, with two-faced personality. I want to find which one I actually am. So, or okay, that's a serious one. Because it may has to do with personality. I don't want to say disorder, but I mean it's clinical psychology. You may want to look up personality disorder, like borderline personality disorder. The treatment for that is DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. I'm not saying that you have it, but just to explore it. Buddhist technique to help you find yourself. Well, all of us are messed up in some form, right? In some way, shape, or form, due to the causes and conditions that got us where we are today. So that the practice would be dependent origination. And the way how I teach that is sit down with a pen and paper and go back as far as you can remember how young you were. Who did you grow up with? Who raised you? What did you do with them? What was your trauma? That pretty much narrows it down where you've been, who you were with at that time that formed you into where you are today, and how we're going to proceed on forward in the future. Not everyone has a perfect upbringing. Most people don't have a perfect upbringing, and subsequently down the road, we become, like you said, two-faced personalities, bipolar, schizophrenia, you name it, depression, anxiety. We get lost. We have no idea who we are. It's a terrible thing, not knowing who you are. How would you be happy with yourself and other people if you don't know who you are? Who am I? Um, so, dependent origination and the practice of the five aggregates. You may want to look that up. Five aggregates. Buddhanet.net explains it, or five aggregates on YouTube. Search. Doug Dharma does a really good job at explaining the five aggregates. There's multiple Buddhist techniques, actually. And so, because this question leads to that depth, I would suggest that you get with a good, qualified, authentic, experienced teacher. Or if you want to get with me, I can explore a little bit more on a clinical standpoint. But yeah, that's no joke with personality disorders. Just because there's nothing more confusing than just to ask, like, who am I at night? And that's terrible when you like alone with your own thoughts, alone by yourself to yourself, and it's like, who am I? Like I just acted out, or I just lost a loved one, or I just dumped somebody, or somebody just dumped me, and I have no idea who I am. Who am I? Why did I just do the things that I do? um, the complexity in being human, the complexity of just who we are. So my heart aches when I answer these types of questions because I know the depth of suffering. Because I was livid in my 20s. In my 20s, I have no idea who I am. No idea. Just lost. Right. Let me answer one over here on Instagram. I have been trying to do meditation, but every time I close my eyes, my mind doesn't want to like stop thinking about some things. Any tips, please? Right. So, any tips, please? Right. So, Yanga, we're trying to slow down the mind. So we're doing something that the mind does not want to do. So of course, when we sit there, that's anybody. That's anybody. Sit there, focus on your breath. Yeah, the mind's gonna be like, no, dude, no, dude. I got some bills I got to pay down the road. I got some things I got to do in the forthcoming days. Not gonna stay still. So would be mindfulness of the breath. And how I teach in the four techniques is breathing in, I know I'm breathing in, breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Number two, in breath one, out breath one, in breath two, out breath two, in breath three, out breath three, all the way to 10 and then backwards. Third technique, analyzing the four techniques and find the one that you like the most and works best for you. And slowly you're conditioning your mind to slow down a little bit, and not jump all over the place so that you can achieve a little peace. However, if the problem persists, we probably need to talk. We probably need to have a one-on-one session for me to look at how much drama that's in your life. So now, before y'all start meditating, make sure you look at the drama in your life. There's too much drama in your life, forget it. Mine's gonna be jumping all over the place with everybody's problem that's in your head. All right, that's my short answer. Okay, let me got a whole long list over here. Oh, I can make it bigger. Um, Desire is one of the causes of suffering, but does it mean it includes goals that we want to achieve? You can have as many desires as you want. Once again, Buddhism is only concerned when that desire gets out of hand. Let's say I want to falls within the Noble Eightfold Path. Just read the Noble Eightfold Path and ask yourself, how am I using the Noble Eightfold no path? Using the Noble Eightfold Path to get to my goals. All right, let it be a guideline to help you. Um, and thank goodness for some guidelines. It would be terrible. A lot of humans would be lost if we didn't have a guideline. Uh, how long do you meditate for every day? So I used to meditate a lot. Now, not that much due to competing priorities. And I've been doing this for 9 years as a monk, and I've been meditating for 22 years. So once you've conditioned the mind for so long, everything you do is pretty much mindful. I'm mindful when I'm talking to you right now. I'm mindful when I'm picking up a pen. I'm mindful when I'm uploading or downloading, whatever. So I try to set aside 15, 20 minutes. The more experienced you are, the less time required when meditating. Um, and it varies per individual. It's not the same for everybody. Okay. You're most welcome to a part-time friend. I like that. Part-time friend. Uh, can you speak about the reason why monks wear orange? Orange was the first available color. It also means in Vietnam we wear gold. The forest Thai traditions wear this color that you're seeing here in front of you. Red for Myanmar. So it depends on where it is. They all mean the same thing, which is they all mean death. Um, it reminds us of our own mortality, and we're grateful as a result from this reminder. YNG Buddha, what state are you from? I'm from Florida. So you hear a lot of y'all statements. Southern state, Florida. Okay. All right. No questions over there on IG. We're building the temple in Jersey. It's gonna be a super huge. Oh wow. Yes, we need more monasteries around the US. The more monasteries we have in the US, the more we will prosper as humans and as Buddhists. Well, we humans were designed to look at other naked people, do we not? Just because we started out with no clothes in the first place. Um, and for mating reasons too. So, thousands and thousands of years ago, we were Homo habilis, Homo sapiens, and Homo erectus, standing on 2 feet. We didn't have any clothes. So everybody's junk was just exposed. Then comes law and civilization. Um, and so you had to wear clothes. So it's no wonder that people who look at other people, male, female, vice versa, and same sex and LGBTQIA plus, is going to wonder what it is she got in them jeans, right? So And then, of course, the existence of the pornography industry, which kind of went a little way past human fantasy into the extreme forms of pornography and just the many types of fantasies that you can imagine. Trust me, if you just visit those sites, you will see it. This is part of my research into sexology as a clinical Buddhist monk. And I would I would rather people watch feeling the need to alleviate oneself naturally. Um, but where porn is of clinical concern is when people are addicted to it. And everyone aware when I work with Darren Ford, who is a sex therapist in California, he describes it as like the new crack cocaine of the internet. So a lot of people, and the more you watch it and the more you get into it, the more sicker you become. So just be ultra aware of that. Anything that you get yourself into, and that could mean sex, porn, gambling, intoxicating substance, and entertainment world. Those little five things. That's why keeping the precept is important because it limits that as much as possible. Um, I think that there was a very young kid that died from masturbating like 200 times a day. Once again, the extremism that people take to that far length, and it causes death. So it's no joke. Once again, it rises to the level of clinical issue. So I don't object to you guys from watching porn, but just keep yourself in check and be very aware of what it's doing to you and the fantasies that it puts into your head. We are what we consume. So just be careful what you consume on the internet, whether it makes you holy or unholy, doing holy things or unholy things onto other people, and how it could lead to unethical, immoral decisions when you have partners or married and stuff like that. I'm telling you, watch some of this stuff, and it's starting to put stuff in your head, and you're like, oh well, with all the freedom that I have, let me go out and I really like blondes, for example, cute face, little waist with a big butt, and she so happens to be married, and people just go to great lengths to wanting to experience that fantasy. So just don't get yourself in trouble and don't get yourself arrested. Some of these stuff, it can get really. Just watch our news. Just go to CNN.com. So watch your local news. Trust me, you see all sorts of stuff unfolding as a result of people just watching. Just the darn screen that we have can really lead us astray from the spiritual path. Okay. Every time I try breathing technique, I feel I get off beat instantly. Should the out breath be shorter? Okay, so part-time friend username. It's a very good thing that you notice the in-breath and the out-breath being short, long, subtle, and not subtle, deep, short, long again, because that's exactly what mindfulness of the breath is to note and is to know that breathing in short, I know I'm breathing in short, breathing in long, I know I'm breathing in long, breathing out long, I know I'm breathing out long. That's beautiful. You're doing it. You're actually doing it correctly from what I'm reading. It's impermanent, right? So that's how you see impermanent all the time. And it's not natural that you're forcing it, right? So when we just observe the breath and just watch it just go up and down, the way that it goes up and down, it varies in intensity. It varies in its waves, kind of like waves, right? The waves of the ocean of the breath. So that's how I describe it. So don't force it first and foremost, and just enjoy it. Just note it and know it, and see impermanence in it, and slowly becoming more enlightened as you're internalizing and seeing very clearly the impermanence in the breath. because now I'm telling you, it's a good thing. So keep up with it and let me know down the road how your practice matures, because that's a good thing. So I wait all year round for questions like this. That's how I know it gives insight into the practitioner's mind of what they notice and what they don't notice, and how I can clarify for you. Okay, we got a question over here. Uh, Hello, I was raised Christian and now I am agnostic. I'm struggling to find a belief that fits me and I feel very lost. May I ask what led you to Buddhism? All right, let me define something here on my dictionary for a second. Agnostic. Ooh. A person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or anything beyond material phenomenon. A person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God. That sounds really confusing, but I understand for everybody, not just for myself. Okay, what led me to Buddhism? So I was born and raised. Oh, you are Catholic is also Christian, based upon our curs. And all right, and then I converted into Buddhism because I felt warmer in the monasteries versus at a church. It's pretty cold to walk into a church. And at the time, I really didn't really know what the teachings on Christ was really all about. It just felt really cold. I mean, it's how I felt about it walking into